This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated's blog, Zalma on Insurance. Today we're going to speak about why a CGL is not and was never intended to be a medical malpractice policy, and why professional healthcare services exclusion in a traveler's policy was found to be effective. This opinion is the recommendation of a magistrate judge to the district court judge, who usually follows those recommendations, and involves Travelers Casualty Insurance Company and its duty to defend the New Mexico Bone and Joint Institute, NMBJI, and its physicians in a medical negligence lawsuit brought by Tervon Dorsey. In Travelers Insurance Company versus New Mexico Bone and Joint Institute et al., the United States District Court for the District of New Mexico on May 8, 2025, published the magistrate judge's recommendations to the district court judge to resolve an insurance coverage dispute. Travelers had issued a commercial general liability policy, a CGL, to NMBJI, which included a professional health care services exclusion that limits coverage for claims related to medical treatment. Dorsey alleged he suffered injuries due to medical negligence by NMBJI providers, leading to a lawsuit that included multiple claims such as medical negligence and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Travelers argued that the claims made by Dorsey fall under exclusions in the CGL policy, thus asserting there was no duty to defend NMBJI. New Mexico law states that an insurer must defend its insured if the allegations in the complaint could possibly be covered by the policy. The court found that the claims related to medical negligence and other allegations arose from professional healthcare services, which were excluded from coverage under the policy. Since Travelers had no duty to defend the claims, it also had no obligation to indemnify NMBJI for any potential damages arising from the state lawsuit. New Mexico substantive law governs the issue of whether Travelers has a duty to defend the CGL policy insureds. To determine whether an insurance company must defend an insured client against a lawsuit, courts compare the factual allegations of the complaint with the insurance policy. If the claimant's complaint alleges facts potentially within the coverage of the policy, then the insurer has an obligation to defend its insured. This is true even though the complaint fails to state facts with sufficient clarity so that it may be determined from its face whether or not the action is within the coverage of the policy, provided the alleged facts tend to show an occurrence within the coverage. Exclusionary clauses in insurance contracts must and are usually and effectively construed very narrowly. The magistrate judge concluded that Travelers have no duty to defend nor a duty to indemnify. If the allegations of the complaint, the court noted, clearly fall outside the provisions of the policy, neither defense nor indemnity is required. Because the magistrate recommended finding that the Travelers does not owe the broader duty to defend in the underlying state lawsuit, he further recommended finding that Travelers had no duty to indemnify the CGL policy insureds for the state claim. In my opinion, I am often confused by people and their lawyers who try to turn an exclusion into an insuring agreement. Their arguments are often creative and as were the arguments in this case. However, the magistrate judge simply did his duty, read the clear and unambiguous exclusion, applied it to the facts, and found that the CGL simply provided no coverage for defense or indemnity to the podiatrists for their medical malpractice and the bodily injuries caused to the plaintiffs because of the professional health care services exclusion of Travelers policy. This video was adapted from my blog, Zalma on Insurance, and is available free to anyone who clicks on the URL zalma.com/blog. You can subscribe to the blog, it's free, and you'll receive notice of every blog posting, usually 5 or 6 a week, and you will also gain access to more than 5,050 blog postings. Please tell your friends and colleagues about this blog so that they too can subscribe to the blog and the videos on rumble.com or youtube.com. And if you're interested in further detail about insurance claims, insurance fraud, and insurance law, please consider, for a very small fee, subscribing to my Substack publication. Thank you for your attention.